Want to hear how a 72-year-old grandfather destroyed his son using internet technology? Because while William was selling my private footage to 2,000 people online, I found a way to bring down his dark empire. And the result was bigger than you could ever imagine. My name is Robert Thompson, but everyone calls me Bob. I'm 72 years old, and this is the story of how a man who had never touched technology waged the greatest digital war against his own son who was exploiting him. Before we continue with this story, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and let us know where you're listening from in the comments. Trust me, you'll never be able to predict the ending of this story. My name is Robert Thompson, and I live in Seattle, Washington. I'm 72 years old and worked as an electrical engineer my entire life. After working at Boeing for 35 years, I retired with a comfortable pension and savings. I lost my wife Dorothy 3 years ago after 55 years of marriage, and since then I've been living alone in our family home. I'm what you might call old-fashioned. I don't understand technology at all. I still read physical newspapers, write letters by hand, and use a landline phone. Computers, internet, smartphones. None of these things have ever been part of my life. I don't know what WhatsApp means. I've never been on Facebook, and the idea of Googling something is completely foreign to me. My son William, however, is my complete opposite. He's 48 years old and a successful technology entrepreneur. He owns a company called ElderSafe Monitoring Solutions that specializes in installing high-tech security systems for elderly people. His wife Jennifer works as a digital marketing manager, and they have 2 teenagers, 17-year-old Madison and 15-year-old Tyler. After Dorothy passed away, William started expressing more and more concern about my living situation. "Dad, you're 72 years old, living alone in this big house. What if you fall? What if you have a heart attack? What if there's an emergency? Nobody would know for hours, maybe days." "William, I'm doing fine. I have neighbors who check on me. I have my doctor. I have friends from work. You don't need to worry about me." "Dad, in this day and age, living like this is dangerous. We need to set up some kind of safety system for you. Something modern, something reliable." We had variations of this conversation for months. He would suggest technology solutions. I would politely decline. He would talk about safety and peace of mind. I would insist on my privacy and independence. But then something happened that changed everything. In March, I had what you might call a wake-up call. I was in my home office, reaching for a book on a high shelf, when I lost my balance and fell backward. I knocked over a small table and a lamp, and found myself on the floor with a bruised hip and some scraped knuckles. It wasn't a serious injury, but it shook me up more than I wanted to admit. I lay there for about 10 minutes, wondering if I could get up on my own, wondering what would have happened if the fall had been more severe. Eventually, I managed to pull myself up using a chair, but the incident left me rattled. When William came for his weekly visit 2 days later, I mentioned the fall casually, thinking it was just one of those things that happen as we get older. His reaction was immediate and intense. "Dad, this is exactly what I've been worried about. You could have been seriously injured. You could have broken a hip, hit your head, you could have died lying there, and no one would have known." "William, I'm fine. It was just a small tumble. These things happen." "This time it was small. What about next time? Dad, you need to face reality. You're not as steady as you used to be, and living alone is becoming dangerous." He was so determined, so insistent, that I found myself actually considering his proposal for the first time. The fall had scared me more than I wanted to admit, and maybe, just maybe, he had a point. "What exactly are you suggesting?" "A comprehensive safety system, motion sensors throughout the house, a medical alert system, and yes, a few security cameras. Nothing invasive. Just common areas like the living room, kitchen, and hallways. Places where you spend time during the day, places where you might fall or where an intruder might try to enter." "Cameras, William? In my own home?" "Dad, it's not about spying on you. It's about making sure you're safe. If you fall, if there's any kind of emergency, we'll know immediately and can get help. Think of it as having a guardian angel watching over you." "That sounds expensive." "Dad, don't worry about the cost. This is family business. My company will handle the installation at cost, and there won't be any service fees. Consider it an investment in your safety and our family's peace of mind." After much discussion and soul-searching about my own stubbornness versus my genuine safety concerns, I finally agreed to let William install a basic security system in my home. That decision would turn out to be the biggest mistake of my life. 2 weeks later, William arrived with Jennifer and a van full of equipment. What I had imagined as a simple installation of a few cameras turned into an all-day operation that transformed my quiet home into what William enthusiastically called a smart senior living environment. The installation was extensive: cameras in the living room, kitchen, hallways, front porch and back patio, motion sensors in every room, smart door locks that could be controlled remotely, a medical alert system integrated with the cameras so that if I fell, the system would automatically detect the incident and alert emergency services. "Dad, you're going to love this," William said as technicians ran cables throughout the house. "We're not just installing cameras. We're creating a comprehensive safety ecosystem that will give you complete peace of mind." Jennifer was equally enthusiastic. "Bob, this is going to be wonderful for all of us. We'll be able to check in on you anytime, make sure you're okay, and you'll have the security of knowing that help is always just a button press away." Madison and Tyler seemed excited too, though their enthusiasm struck me as a bit odd. "Grandpa, now we can watch you all the time. We can see what you're doing, make sure you're taking care of yourself." "Watch me?" "I mean for your safety, Grandpa. If you get sick or hurt, we'll know right away and can help you." The installation took the entire day. By evening, my peaceful private home had been transformed into a high-tech monitoring station. William gave me a tablet that would let me see the camera feeds and control various system features, though he acknowledged that the interface might be challenging for me to learn. "Don't worry about managing the system yourself, Dad. Jennifer and I will monitor everything remotely from our house. You just need to live your normal life, and we'll make sure you're safe and secure." "There are no cameras in my bedroom or bathroom, right?" "Of course not, Dad. Those are private spaces. We would never intrude on your privacy like that. The cameras are only in common areas where you might need help, or where someone might try to break in." That night I lay in bed listening to the subtle hums and beeps of my new smart home. Little lights blinked on various devices, and I could hear the almost imperceptible whir of cameras adjusting their positions. It felt strange and intrusive, but I told myself it was for the best. I had no idea that my private life was already being broadcast to strangers online. Over the following weeks, I noticed some peculiar changes in my family's behavior. William started calling much more frequently, sometimes 3 or 4 times a day, with very specific questions about my activities. "Hi, Dad. I saw you spent a long time in the kitchen this morning. Is everything okay? You seem to be moving a bit slower than usual." "William, I was making breakfast and doing some dishes. That's perfectly normal." I know, but the system flagged some unusual movement patterns. I just wanted to make sure you weren't having any difficulty or pain." These check-ins became routine. William would call to comment on my daily activities. When I went to bed, when I woke up, how long I spent in various rooms, whether my movements seemed normal compared to previous days. At first, I found his attention touching. My son was genuinely concerned about my welfare and was using technology to stay connected with my daily life. But gradually, the constant monitoring began to feel suffocating. Jennifer also started making comments about my daily routine during family visits. "Bob, I noticed you've been staying up later than usual. Are you having trouble sleeping? The system shows you moving around the house at night. How do you know when I go to bed or get up at night?" The motion sensors track general activity throughout the house, Bob. We can see patterns, not details, just whether you're active or settled for the night. It's all part of monitoring your health and safety. Madison and Tyler, my teenage grandchildren, seemed particularly amused by the monitoring system. "Grandpa, it's like you're on a reality show," Madison giggled during one visit. "We can see your whole daily routine. It's actually kind of fascinating how organized and predictable you are." "You can see my daily routine?" "Not see exactly," Tyler clarified, "but Dad shows us the activity reports. Like, we know you always watch the news at 6 p.m. and have your afternoon tea at exactly 3 p.m. Your schedule is super consistent." The idea that my grandchildren were reviewing reports of my daily activities felt deeply uncomfortable, but William assured me it was just family staying connected in a modern way. Dad, it's no different than us calling to check on you, except now we don't have to bother you with constant phone calls. We can see that you're active and healthy without disturbing your day. But it felt very different to me. Phone calls were conversations, two-way communication where I could choose what to share and what to keep private. This was surveillance, even if it was conducted with loving intentions. The first sign that something was seriously wrong came in late May, about 3 months after the system installation. I was at the grocery store, shopping for my weekly groceries, when an elderly woman I didn't recognize approached me in the produce section. "Excuse me," she said with a friendly smile, "aren't you Bob from the ElderWatch videos?" I stared at her in confusion. "I'm sorry, what?" "The ElderWatch videos online. You live in that house with all the security cameras, right? I watch your daily routines sometimes. You seem like such a sweet man, and your tea-drinking ritual is absolutely delightful." "I don't know what you're talking about," I said, feeling increasingly uncomfortable. The woman looked embarrassed. "Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought you were—" "There's this website where people can watch elderly folks in their homes. For safety and educational purposes, I think. I could have sworn you were one of the featured residents." I spent the rest of my shopping trip in a daze trying to process what the woman had said. Someone was watching videos of elderly people in their homes, and she thought I was one of them? What did that even mean? When I got home, I immediately called William. "William, I need to ask you something strange. A woman at the grocery store thought she recognized me from something called ElderWatch videos. Do you know what that is?" There was a long pause before William answered, and when he did, his voice sounded strained. "Dad, well, it's complicated. Let me come over right now and explain everything to you." "Explain what? William, are strangers watching footage from my home?" "Dad, please don't get upset. Let me drive over and we'll discuss this face-to-face, okay? I'll be there in 30 minutes. William arrived with Jennifer, and both of them looked uncomfortable as they sat down in my living room. A living room that I now realized might be broadcasting our conversation to strangers online. "Dad," William began carefully, "you know how I mentioned that professional monitoring services help fund the security systems we install?" "Yes, you said something about that." "Well, part of how we make these services affordable is through what we call an educational subscription model. People who are interested in senior safety and elder care can subscribe to monitoring feeds to learn about daily living patterns, safety concerns, and independent living strategies." "You mean strangers are watching me in my own home?" "It's not like that, Dad. The subscribers are primarily adult children of elderly parents, healthcare professionals, people who work in senior care, gerontology students. They're interested in learning about senior living and understanding how to better support their elderly family members." Jennifer joined the conversation. "Bob, it's actually quite beautiful when you think about it. There's a whole community of people who care about seniors and want to learn how to provide better support and care." "How many people are we talking about?" "The subscriber base has grown quite a bit since we launched your feed. We now have about 2,000 regular viewers who follow your daily routine." 2,000 people are watching me eat breakfast, take my medications, watch television?" "Dad, please understand. This isn't exploitation, it's education. Your daily routine, your independence, your problem-solving strategies. These are valuable learning tools for families dealing with similar situations." "I never consented to this." "Actually, you did," Jennifer said, pulling out some paperwork. "The service agreement you signed included provisions for educational content sharing and, quote, community-based monitoring support." I looked at the papers Jennifer handed me. Pages and pages of legal text that I had signed without reading carefully, trusting William to explain the important parts to me. "I thought I was signing up for emergency monitoring." "You were," William insisted. "This is just how the monitoring gets funded, Dad. I promise you it's all very respectful and appropriate. Nothing private, nothing embarrassing." "William, strangers watching me in my own home is inherently private and embarrassing." "Dad, I think if you could meet some of the community members, see how positive and supportive they are, you might actually come to appreciate the connection and support they provide." I sat in stunned silence, trying to process that my son had turned my private life into a subscription service for strangers on the internet. I want it stopped immediately. "Dad, that's not really possible. We have contractual obligations to our subscribers. And frankly, the community has become very attached to you. But I promise if you give it a few more weeks, you'll see how positive and supportive this community really is. William, remove the cameras from my house right now. Dad, the cameras are integral to the safety system. If we remove them, you won't have emergency monitoring, medical alert capabilities, or security protection. I realized I was trapped. The safety system I had agreed to was inextricably linked to a voyeuristic subscription service that was monetizing my privacy. How much money are you making from this? William and Jennifer exchanged glances. It's not about the money, Dad. It's about creating sustainable elder care solutions and building community connections. How much, William? The subscribers pay $50 per month each for access to the premium monitoring feeds. $50 per month times 2,000 subscribers. My son was making $100,000 every month by selling access to my private life. Are there cameras in my bathroom and bedroom despite what you told me? Another long pause. Dad, there are motion sensors and emergency monitoring capabilities in all areas of the house. If you fell in the bathroom or had a medical emergency in your bedroom, we need to be able to respond immediately. That's not what I asked. Are people paying to watch me use the bathroom? There are premium subscription tiers that include more comprehensive monitoring access. Answer the question, William. Yes, but it's for healthcare and safety purposes, not. How much extra do people pay to watch me in my bathroom? Dad, you're making this sound much worse than it is. How much, William? Premium bathroom access is an additional $200 per month. Bedroom monitoring is $300 per month. I felt physically sick. My son was charging strangers extra money to watch me in my most private, vulnerable moments. That night, I did something I had never done in my 72 years of life. I stayed up until 3 a.m. learning how to use the internet. The tablet William had given me for controlling the home system also had internet access, and with determination that surprised even me, I figured out how to use a search engine and began researching ElderWatch. What I found was far worse than I had imagined. ElderWatch wasn't just a small subscription service for concerned adult children. It was a massive online platform, with thousands of subscribers paying to watch elderly people in their homes. The website featured dozens of senior living streams, live feeds from homes across the country, showing elderly people going about their daily routines. My stream was prominently featured on the site's homepage. Bob T., 72, Seattle, Washington. Widowed engineer maintaining independence and dignity in his golden years. Below that description was a live feed of my living room, showing the very chair where I was sitting while discovering my own exploitation. The subscriber comments were deeply disturbing. Love watching Bob's morning routine, so methodical and peaceful. Bob is my favorite grandfather figure. I watch him every day during my lunch break. Does anyone know if Bob has family nearby? He seems lonely sometimes. I wish I could talk to Bob and tell him how much joy he brings to my day. But some comments were much darker and more sinister. Bob has great legs for an old guy. When are we getting Bob's bedroom cam access? Anyone know Bob's address? I'd love to send him flowers. The bathroom premium content is totally worth the extra money. I realized with growing horror that I wasn't just being monitored for safety. I was being consumed as entertainment by strangers, some of whom were developing unhealthy obsessions with me, others who seemed to have predatory interests. I clicked through the site's subscription features and discovered multiple tiers of access. Basic, $25 per month. Daytime common area viewing. Premium, $50 per month. 24-hour access to all cameras, archived footage. VIP, $75 per month. High-definition feeds, multiple camera angles. Ultimate, $150 per month. Bathroom and bedroom access. Intimate daily care documentation. The ultimate subscribers could pay even more. I was looking at evidence that my son was potentially making hundreds of thousands of dollars every month by selling the most private moments of my life to strangers online. But it got worse. As I continued exploring the ElderWatch website with growing revulsion, I found a section called Community Features, where subscribers could interact with each other and share their thoughts about the people they were watching. There was an entire forum dedicated to me, with hundreds of posts from subscribers discussing my daily habits, speculating about my health, sharing screenshots of particularly interesting or touching moments from my feeds, and even creating fan art and fictional stories about my life. Some subscribers had created elaborate fantasies about my personal relationships, my feelings, and my past. Others shared detailed analyses of my daily routines, noting changes in my behavior or appearance and discussing what these might mean. Most disturbing of all, there was a section where subscribers could make requests for specific types of content or ask for better camera angles in certain areas of my house. I saw requests like, "Can we get a better view of Bob's kitchen table during breakfast?" "I'd love to see more of Bob's bedroom. The current angle is too limited." Bob's shower routine would be educational for understanding senior bathing safety. The realization hit me like a physical blow. I had become an unwilling performer in what was essentially elderly pornography, and there was a community of thousands of people who were paying to consume my most intimate and vulnerable moments as entertainment. I turned off the tablet and sat in the darkness of my living room, knowing that even in that moment cameras were recording me and strangers were potentially watching my reaction to discovering my own exploitation. That's when I decided to fight back. The next morning, I made a decision that would have been unthinkable just weeks earlier. I was going to learn everything I could about technology, internet privacy, digital rights, and cybercrime, and I was going to use that knowledge to destroy what my son had built. I spent the entire day at the Seattle Public Library, where kind librarians helped me understand how online platforms worked, how to document digital crimes, and how to protect myself from further exploitation. I learned about screen recording software, digital forensics, privacy rights, and most importantly, how platforms like ElderWatch operated and how they could be brought down. "Bob," said one of the younger librarians, "what you're describing sounds like revenge porn and elder abuse. Have you contacted the police?" "Not yet," I said. "I need to understand the full scope of what's happening and gather evidence before I decide how to respond. But I'm going to need to learn a lot of new skills very quickly." Over the following 2 weeks, I spent every day at the library, learning things I never thought I'd need to know. I created anonymous email accounts, learned how to document evidence, researched the legal penalties for non-consensual surveillance, and studied how to use various software tools for recording and organizing information. Most importantly, I learned how to turn the cameras and monitoring systems in my own home into tools for gathering evidence against William and Jennifer. The tablet they had given me for controlling the system also maintained detailed logs of every interaction, stored records of who accessed the cameras and when, and kept archives of all the data that was being collected about me. William and Jennifer had given me the keys to documenting their own crimes. For the next month, I pretended that everything was normal, while secretly documenting every aspect of William's operation. I used the system's own recording features to create an extensive archive of evidence. Screenshots of the ElderWatch website showing my live feeds and subscription pricing, records of subscriber payments and revenue reports that I could access through the system, archives of community comments and discussions about me, system logs showing when William, Jennifer, and their employees accessed my cameras, evidence of cameras in bathroom and bedroom despite their explicit denials, documentation of the various subscription tiers and premium content offerings. I also began. When William called for his daily check-ins, I made sure to get him talking about the business aspects of the monitoring system. When they visited and made claims about how the system worked, I documented their statements and compared them to the evidence I was gathering. "Dad, how are you feeling about the monitoring system now? Are you getting more comfortable with the community aspect?" "I'm trying to understand it better, William. How many people did you say were involved in this community?" "Well, it's grown quite a bit since we started your feed, Dad. We now have over 15,000 regular subscribers across all our monitoring subjects." 15,000? I thought you said it was just a few thousand for educational purposes. The community has been so positive and supportive that word has spread organically. It's really beautiful to see how much people care about senior wellness and safety. And they're paying $50 each per month? Actually, we've had to implement tiered pricing because demand has been so high. Basic access starts at $25, premium is $75, and our VIP Ultimate Experience is $150 per month. So you're making over $1 million every month from this? Dad, it's not about the money. The revenue allows us to provide these safety services to seniors who couldn't otherwise afford professional monitoring. We're creating a sustainable model for elder care that helps families across the country. Every lie, every manipulation, every false reassurance was recorded and documented. I was building an ironclad case against my own son. After gathering evidence for over a month, I was ready to spring my trap. I called William and asked him to come over for what I described as a family meeting about the future of our monitoring arrangement. "I've been thinking a lot about what you told me regarding the educational community," I said over the phone. "I think I'm ready to embrace this and maybe even interact with some of the subscribers directly." William was thrilled. "Dad, I'm so glad you're coming around to this. The community is going to be absolutely delighted to have more direct interaction with you." When William and Jennifer arrived the next evening, they found me sitting in my living room with a laptop computer open in front of me, something they had never seen before. "Dad, where did you get that computer?" William asked, looking surprised. "I bought it," I said simply. "If I'm going to be part of this online community, I figured I should learn how to use the technology myself." What William and Jennifer didn't know was that I had set up multiple recording devices throughout the room, and everything we were about to discuss was being broadcast live to local news stations, law enforcement agencies, and digital rights organizations that I had contacted during my research phase. "William, I want to understand exactly how this business works. How many people are really watching me, and how much money are you making?" "Well, Dad, our subscriber base has grown tremendously. We now have over 15,000 people across various subscription tiers who are interested in senior living content." 15,000 people are paying to watch me? "It's educational content, Dad. People learning about aging, independence, daily living skills." "And the money?" "Basic subscriptions are $25, premium are $75, and ultimate VIP access is $150 per month." "William, show me the website. I want to see exactly what people are paying for." Reluctantly, William opened his laptop and navigated to the ElderWatch platform. What he showed me was a sanitized version of the site, just basic daytime living room feeds with educational commentary. "Is this everything?" I asked. "This is the main community area where most subscribers interact." "What about the premium content you mentioned?" William hesitated, then clicked through to show me the premium subscriber area. I could see the comprehensive camera feeds, living room, kitchen, hallways, and yes, bedroom and bathroom. "William, there are cameras in my bathroom?" "For safety, Dad. Emergency monitoring." "And people pay extra to access this content?" "Healthcare professionals and safety researchers primarily." "How much extra?" "Ultimate VIP access, which includes all areas of the house, is an additional $100 per month on top of the base subscription." "So people are paying up to $250 per month to watch me use the bathroom?" "Dad, that's not how I would characterize." "Answer the question. Are strangers paying $250 per month to watch intimate footage of me?" "Some subscribers are interested in comprehensive daily living documentation, yes." "How many Ultimate VIP subscribers do you have?" "Currently about 3,000. 3,000 people paying $250 per month meant William was making $750,000 every month, just from the premium voyeuristic content featuring me. And I was just one of multiple elderly people being exploited this way. "William, you're operating an elderly pornography website." "Dad, that's not." "You are charging strangers to watch me bathe, use the toilet, get dressed, and sleep. What would you call that?" Silence. At that moment, my front door opened and law enforcement officers entered my living room. I had coordinated this confrontation with the FBI's cybercrime unit, who had been investigating ElderWatch based on the evidence I had provided. "William Thompson and Jennifer Thompson, you are under arrest for elder abuse, privacy violations, wire fraud, and operating an illegal surveillance operation." The expressions on William and Jennifer's faces as they realized they had been caught in an elaborate sting operation orchestrated by their supposedly tech-ignorant victim will stay with me forever. Within hours of William and Jennifer's arrest, the story exploded across national media. The combination of elder abuse, technology exploitation, and a 72-year-old grandfather who had learned to use digital tools to take down his own son's criminal operation captured the public imagination in a way that surprised everyone. CNN, BBC, Fox News, and every major news outlet picked up the story. 72-year-old grandfather exposes son's elder abuse website. ElderWatch scandal, how one man's fight for privacy went viral. Tech-savvy grandpa takes down $1 million exploitation ring. Social media exploded with support for my story. The hashtag #ElderJustice began trending worldwide, with millions of people sharing their own stories of elder abuse and expressing admiration for my determination to fight back. On TikTok, videos about my story received over 100 million views. Instagram posts featuring my quotes about never being too old to learn new skills were shared by celebrities and influencers. Facebook groups dedicated to elder rights and digital privacy attracted hundreds of thousands of new members. The impact on William and Jennifer was swift and devastating. Jennifer was immediately fired from her job when her employer learned of her involvement in the ElderWatch operation. William's business assets were frozen, and several other families came forward with evidence that their elderly relatives had also been exploited by similar schemes. Madison and Tyler, my grandchildren, were placed in temporary care with Jennifer's sister when both parents were detained. The scandal followed them to school, where classmates and teachers had seen the news coverage, and they struggled with the shame and confusion of learning that their parents had been running what amounted to an elderly exploitation website. But the most significant impact was on the broader conversation about elder abuse, privacy rights, and the need for stronger protections for vulnerable adults in the digital age. The trial took place 6 months later, and it was covered extensively by national media. The prosecution, led by District Attorney Sarah Wilson, painted a devastating picture of systematic elder abuse enabled by technology. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury," she said in her opening statement, "this case represents one of the most sophisticated and callous examples of elder exploitation we have ever seen. The defendants didn't just steal money from vulnerable seniors. They stole their dignity, their privacy, and their basic human right to live without being watched and judged by strangers." The evidence I had gathered was overwhelming. Financial records showing that ElderWatch had generated over $15 million in revenue from subscriptions. Testimony from other elderly victims who had been similarly exploited. Expert witnesses explaining the psychological harm caused by non-consensual surveillance. William and Jennifer's defense team tried to argue that the elderly participants had consented to the monitoring and that the service provided legitimate safety benefits. But the evidence of deliberate deception, privacy violations, and the creation of intimate content for profit was undeniable. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours before returning guilty verdicts on all counts. William was sentenced to 25 years in federal prison for elder abuse, wire fraud, and operating an illegal surveillance operation. Jennifer received 15 years for her role in marketing and managing the subscription platform. In addition to the criminal penalties, I was awarded $50 million in damages, money that would be distributed among all the elderly victims of the ElderWatch scheme and used to fund elder abuse prevention programs. But more than the money or the prison sentences, what mattered to me was that the case established important legal precedents for protecting elderly people from technology-enabled abuse and created new awareness about the need for stronger digital privacy protections for vulnerable adults. Today, I'm 77 years old, and my life has changed in ways I never could have imagined when this story began. The skills I learned during my fight against ElderWatch have transformed me from someone who is afraid of technology into someone who uses it every day to help other people. I now run a YouTube channel with over 8 million subscribers, where I teach elderly people how to use technology safely and protect themselves from digital exploitation. My TikTok account, where I share quick tips about internet safety and digital rights, has over 15 million followers. I've written a book called Never Too Late to Learn, A Senior's Guide to Digital Self-Defense, which became a bestseller and has been translated into 12 languages. I've given TED Talks, testified before Congress about the need for stronger elder abuse protections, and consulted with technology companies about designing services that protect rather than exploit vulnerable users. Most importantly, I've helped establish the Elder Protection Initiative, a nonprofit organization that provides free technology education and digital safety resources to seniors across the country. We've helped over 100,000 elderly people learn to use computers, smartphones, and the internet safely, and we've prevented countless cases of digital exploitation and abuse. William is currently serving his sentence in federal prison. He writes to me occasionally, expressing remorse for what he did and asking for forgiveness. Madison and Tyler, now adults, visit me sometimes and are working to rebuild their lives after the trauma of learning that their parents had been criminals. "Grandpa," Madison said during her last visit, "I know what Dad did was horrible, but I want you to know that watching you fight back and build something positive from such an awful situation has inspired me to study law. I want to help protect elderly people like you did. Tyler has become a cybersecurity specialist who works specifically on protecting vulnerable populations from online exploitation. You showed me that it's never too late to learn new skills and fight for what's right, he told me. I want to spend my career making sure what happened to you never happens to anyone else. As I finish telling this story, I'm sitting in the same living room where this nightmare began, but everything has changed. The cameras that once violated my privacy have been replaced with security equipment that I control completely. The tablet that was once a tool for my exploitation now helps me stay connected with millions of people around the world who are working to protect elderly people from abuse. I've learned that age is not a barrier to learning new skills, standing up for yourself, or fighting for justice. I've learned that technology itself isn't evil. It's how people choose to use it that matters. And I've learned that sometimes the biggest betrayals can lead to the most important victories. The most important lesson, though, is that we must never stop fighting for our dignity and our rights, no matter how old we are or how impossible the situation seems. When I started this journey, I was a 72-year-old man who had never used a computer and didn't understand how the internet worked. I was being exploited by my own son, who was making millions of dollars by selling my most private moments to strangers online. I felt powerless, violated, and completely alone. But I learned that knowledge is power, and that it's never too late to acquire the knowledge you need to protect yourself. I learned that asking for help isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of wisdom. The librarians who taught me how to use computers, the lawyers who helped me understand my rights, the law enforcement officers who took my case seriously, none of them saw my age as a limitation. They saw my determination and my willingness to learn, and they helped me turn that determination into action. I also learned that individual acts of courage can create ripple effects that extend far beyond what we might imagine. My decision to fight back against William's exploitation didn't just help me. It helped create new legal protections for elderly people, raised awareness about digital privacy rights, and inspired millions of other seniors to learn technology skills they thought were beyond their reach. The ElderWatch scandal led to congressional hearings about elder abuse and digital privacy. New laws were passed requiring explicit, informed consent for any surveillance of elderly people, even by family members. Technology companies began implementing stronger protections for vulnerable users, and law enforcement agencies received better training for investigating technology-enabled elder abuse. But perhaps most importantly, the story changed the conversation about aging and technology. Instead of seeing seniors as victims of the digital age, people began to see us as capable of mastering new skills and fighting for our rights. The stereotype of the helpless, technology-phobic elderly person began to give way to a new understanding that learning and growth don't stop at any particular age. Today, when I speak at conferences or meet with other seniors who are learning to use technology, I always tell them the same thing. You are more capable than you know, and it's never too late to surprise yourself with what you can accomplish. The money I received from the lawsuit has allowed me to live comfortably and fund the Elder Protection Initiative, but the real reward has been the knowledge that something positive came from such a terrible violation. Every elderly person who learns to use a computer safely, every family that establishes healthy boundaries around privacy and technology, every law enforcement officer who takes elder abuse seriously, these are the true victories that came from my willingness to fight back. William will be eligible for parole in 15 years when he's 63 years old. I don't know if I'll still be alive then, but if I am, I honestly don't know whether I'll be able to forgive him. The betrayal cut so deep, the violation was so complete, that some wounds may never fully heal. But I do know this. I don't spend my time thinking about hatred or revenge anymore. I spend my time thinking about how to help other people, how to use the skills I've learned to make the world a little bit safer for vulnerable people, and how to prove every day that age is just a number when it comes to learning, growing, and fighting for what's right. If you're listening to this story and you're facing your own challenges, whether they involve family betrayal, technology problems, or feeling like you're too old to learn new skills, I want you to remember this. You have more strength than you know, more capability than others might assume, and more right to dignity and respect than anyone should ever try to take away from you. The tools exist to protect yourself, to learn new skills, and to fight back against those who would exploit you. The people exist who will help you if you ask. And the power exists within you to surprise yourself with what you can accomplish, no matter what your age or background might be. I'm 77 years old now, and I'm still learning new things every day. I'm still fighting for elderly rights, still teaching people about digital safety, and still proving that it's never too late to make a difference in the world. My name is Robert Thompson, and this has been my story. Thank you for listening, and remember, justice may be delayed, but it's never too late.